Hey there, welcome back to the table. So I'm gonna try to start another game here. Um, I have, I'm back to tabletop. I know some of you like the physical copy, but this was quicker for me. It takes 2 hours roughly to sort the pieces and set it up. I know if you have a good organizer, maybe it's a little quicker, but I was able to do this within just a few minutes. The only thing I have left to do is we need to draw three cascading events, which are right here. Um, but before I get started, some lessons learned. The first one is, of course, don't underestimate your relationship with Congress. It's very important. The second, somebody pointed out that I rolled a d10 when I should have rolled a d6 in a few spots. So that was my fault. And I was actually complaining that the odds are horrible. And, well, in a d6, those odds are a lot better. So that makes total sense. And then there's a few spots where uh, the it has an if statement, and if was not true, so I just skipped to the next paragraph. But embedded somewhere in that long line of nasty text, there's an otherwise clause. Um, the two examples in particular was one when dealing with passing a bill in Congress. There was an if statement that wasn't true, and I just skipped that whole section. But there was an otherwise consequence. And then also, whenever China and Russia take their turn, they have an espionage step that I skipped because their posture in both cases wasn't a 2. Like they were at a 1 and we had a good relationship with them or whatever. Um, there was an otherwise clause for that as well. So basically, they always attempt espionage. It's just it's going to be toned down if you have a nicer relationship. So, anyways, those were mistakes I made. I know that the tabletop doesn't have all the documentation. All you have is the flipbook to help you, so you don't get to see everything I'm seeing. The last playthrough will you got to see everything there is. Um, One of the things that I don't know, I've said this before, but I can read this so much better than having the physical board in front of me, and I just I do value this so much. There's so much more I'm seeing, and then like being able to set up these cards was so quick and easy to do. Um, there's just a lot of advantages to having this. And anyways, forgive me. I know some of you are very passionate about you want to see the physical copy. Um, you do have that in the previous playthrough. Now I'm back to this. All right, so we need to pick three of these. So I'm just gonna pick them right now and cascade them. I have them flipped over because I want to know which ones are which. If we need to draw a card, I could just flip it over and shuffle and then draw. Um, but anyways, just a reminder: we're supposed to ignore any tension on cabinets, all public approval results, because that was all previous presidency, and any instructions to spend action points. Because at this point we don't have any action points yet. Those are done in step one. Um, when we actually start the game. Also, in case you're curious, these are the public priorities, and these are our priorities. Guess why? I put that up there. If you watched the last play, um, I have a fantastic cabinet. I have bonus actions everywhere. I couldn't have asked for a better start with the cabinet. Everybody's got points right where they need it, and bonus actions. And then we got the efficient, which gives us 4 APs a turn. And we get +1 to our strategic capability a turn. Um, I need to look up what that means. I think we may get to do 3 instead of 2 when we're trying to increase strategic capabilities, which that's pretty impressive. A +1, I don't think it's to a die roll because usually a -1's better. And then just like the first playthrough, which I didn't finish, um, we ended up getting a first lady that everybody loves. I actually think the two public approval is huge. And then media relations or party relations. If you recall, party relations is a guarantee. You just have to spend the action. So as long as I'm willing to spend the action, it's guaranteed I can move this up. But the media relations is a tough one. So getting an automatic +1 on those is really good. I am a little remorse because the congressional relations would be a nice one as well, but you can't have them all. Um, okay, all right. I just paused real quick because I was curious what that military one did. It's even more powerful than I ever imagined. It gives me an automatic bump to. I can pick any capability I want and just move it up without having to roll. Um, that's amazing to have that one. Holy crap! I didn't realize that was so good. So check. Improve one U.S. strategic capability by +1 at the start of the turn. So that's above and beyond the two that you can try to improve later. So very, very satisfied with that one. And the four APs are not bad because, as you know, I like to spend my APs. Apparently, I was completely out by the last phase last time. All right, so let's do these cascading effects, which last time really created a massive problem with Iran. So let's do it. Instability, civil war, rogue state. So, oh, we gotta get a D10. That's not it. So I believe it's objects, components, yeah, we'll take 2d10. 2d6. And then do we have... Yeah, that doesn't do me any good. I was just trying to see if there was something I could roll inside of. Um, I know somebody gave feedback that you can press R to roll, but it looks so dead. So I don't like doing rolling like that. Whereas, you know, like this, at least you do get real. I don't know. It feels different. But we will leave it be. So one of the things we got to do is we got to roll d10. So I'll go here and I'll press R. We got a 3. To identify a random region, then make a stability check. So a 3 is Central America. Oh yeah, that's a great place for a civil war. So a stability check is simple as this. The stability is a 4. I gotta roll a 4 or less or there's trouble. I rolled a 2. So if I pass, I put an unstable state in the region, or otherwise they get a civil war. So unstable. And that looks like that's it. And then it's going to cascade to 2. Done. Next one. Financial crisis. That whole last game, we had the Treasury Secretary that would have prevented this. +1 domestic crisis. So it goes to 2. Place a worsening economy counter on the US. And a tensions counter. So we ignore the tensions counter on the POTUS. We also ignore the public approval per the instructions. So if there was a time to get something this horrible, this was the time. And then this goes on the 2. So I had to get up to 6 or higher to avert the crisis. Ugh. Next one, Iran increases their track by 1 box and 1 regional crisis in the Middle East. Oh, imagine that. So the Middle East is already at a major crisis. Thanks, Iran. And then their track goes up, which causes 1 tension on Iran, Israel. So they each get a tension. So 1, 2, 3. And we have to resolve the major crisis, which is a WD1. Alright, so the stability is a 4. It's going to get a +1. It gets a -1 because we're very close, so we're back to 0. Gets a +1 for the Civil War. There's no other war, so that's good. There is a rogue state, so that gets a +1. So they're at a +2 for the roll here. We just rolled ourselves a 1. +2 is 3. Merge 2 level 1 Terra groups into 1 level 2 Terra group. If there's none, add a level 2. Alright, so there's not 2 level 1s. So currently the maximum, see, this is a lot easier for you to read. There's a maximum of 2 civil wars. There's a maximum of 4 Terra groups. So they're telling us we have to add a level 2. And so what that means is we add it to the lowest one. So this 1, I gotta zoom out a little. It's becoming a 3. Because, 1 plus 2 is 3. And then, this goes back to 2. So that crisis is brutal. Could have been worse if we wouldn't have rolled a 1. But anyways, those are the 3 cascading events, so now we're ready to start. So we can take our flip book here. So for a normal game, we start each turn with 15 action points. And then bear in mind, we get 4 more from this, so we're at 19. So they had 15 here, we're just going to move that up to 19. Apply any effects for start of turn, and so we're going to do that right now. So the +1 to a strategic capability, I am absolutely doing cyber warfare. That burned us so much last time, and now we're equal with all the other countries. That's really, really good. The only other one, like, we're tied with other people. We are behind China on space warfare. Then the First Lady. We get 2 public approval, which is very helpful. And then we're going to do +1 to party or media relations. I'm going to do media. It's very important for us. Oh, and by the way, the Congress is radical as all can get. We are tied on our media influence. But they have, and we have actually equal. Whereas split is it equal as equal gets. Okay. We skip, we set our national focus. Now this is something interesting. we did this before, and it paid off in spades having it in the Middle East. It would also help because we're at war here to put it here because it does help you with your wars. So um, I'm going to go ahead and put it here, although I think this would be an excellent spot as well. We're going to focus on our war to get that resolved, although we have another one, another rogue state we need to get rid of. I'm going to put the focus here, where the war is. Because there's all kinds of penalties if we don't resolve our war. Okay. So it's just telling us we start beginning turn, we skip the State of the Union, and then we do economic. Not on turn one. Then we set our focus, right, for our cabinet, and then one action for POTUS and each cabinet member. We also, actually, before we do that, improve strategic capabilities. So we get to pick two, and we roll. As long as our economy is where it is. Roll a d10. Secretary of Defense modifies it, so we'll get a -1. On a 1 to 5, it improves. So it's about 60% for us because we're going to get a -1. And then these DARPA ones, which remember our military person sets those, that'll be 1 to 7, which is fantastic. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and I'm going to grab a die and just move it over here. That's why we got multiple. So this one I'm going to put right here. Or maybe we'll just put it over here on the side. Item number 1, I'm going to keep my foot on the gas. We're going to do cyber warfare. I rolled a 6, but a -1 makes it a 5. That means we just moved up again. So we now have better capabilities, which is awesome. Having this is also extremely important, but we do have a cushion. And this one I found would be nice for us to move, but I also found that China likes to go after naval tech. So like when you're looking at, okay, where do you want to... We are behind on space, so you could argue we should do that one. And I'm going to go ahead and do naval. No, you know what? I am going to do space since we are behind. Sorry, I received a phone call while we were doing this. As you saw, I rolled a 2, which is excellent. So that means we have no capabilities that we're behind. We're at least tied in all areas. We could focus on these a little later. So this is a great start compared to the last game. Alright, so we set up our cabinet focus. I think that things like the economy are always important. The RWC, always important. Public relations doesn't stink. Decrease one terror group in the US. We usually don't have any. So right now that's the least important. Domestic crisis has an issue. Cabinet effectiveness. Like, I'm realizing that all these are good. But which one do I want the most? Well, I think improving the economy is always important. Then Congress, because that's a beast to move up. Then I would go with improving cabinet and domestic crisis, and then we'll put press relations. I mean, this is really nice, but yeah, we're sort of getting this bonus through our other means, so I got to pick something to be lower, so I might as well pick that one. Now we get one action for POTUS and each member. So this is the part that's a little brutal for you guys because we have to now look at the sheet that I can't share because it's not on nowhere to be found. But let's start with the military. So there's a lot of things going on with the military here. Um, let's just go real quick, see which ones we could request rapid capabilities. That's something we need to do sometime before the end of the year because I feel that that one is tremendously useful. We could do it now just to get it out of the way, um, but it doesn't have to be. We can move or deploy military forces. So, like for example, we can give ourselves more points for the war. We can perform a raid or strike on a terror group. We can't do that because there's no terror group. The only way you can raid or strike a terror group is if they're in the targeting box here. We can't do that one. We can do direct intel, which means that we're going to start putting them up here if we succeed with our intel check. I think that's an action I probably should start doing more often. Arms sales, so we can resupply training with an ally. So it costs one action and one action point. Unless your Secretary of Defense's military rating is 1 or higher, in which case no action points required. So add 1 strength to 1 ally at war. You could do joint maneuvers with an ally if they're very close, or major arms sales. Select an ally with very close and make them stronger. Okay, none of those help me. I thought this would improve my relationship with them. It does not. We can initiate hostilities, make a cyber attack. We can attack a rogue state, for example. We're allowed to do this during any activation segment. So technically, this is not an activation segment. Well, it's special activations, I guess. So we could do it, yes. And remember, our military guy is going to get 2 actions because we have a really awesome cabinet right now. We're getting 2 actions from each person. So that one actually sits really high on my list because I feel like if we can cyber attack and harass these rogue states, because remember, those were penalizing us at the end of the last game, and I need to be a little more aggressive with them. We can use military professionals, which will give trending pro-US in various regions. And this one I focused on a lot last time. It's definitely good. And that's it. Those are our choices. So what I think I'm going to do to start is we're going to do the... let's get the capability thing out of the way. So we have these 2 DARPA tokens. And what this means is next year, if I survive to it, when we pick 2 strategic capabilities to improve, this will be a 3rd and a 4th one. So I get put DARPA on any of these. So I'm putting DARPA on cyber warfare, and I can pick another one. You know what? I think, because these 2 are so important to stay ahead of everybody, I'm going to put the other one right there. I know I have a lead, but I'm going to keep the lead. That's my attitude. And if I have to spend my other 2 to improve these other ones, that's what I'll do. And I get an automatic bump. So we're very strong on this. I really like our gameplay so far, as far as that's concerned. But that's one of the military actions. The other one is, and I don't know which one's better, we cyber attack a rogue state, or we go after the terror groups. I think they're both of equal importance. Um, the other one, of course, getting them to you know improve stability because we use our military to heal people. I think all three of them are good. But I think I'm going to try the cyber attack, and we're going to cyber attack the rogue state we're at war with. Well, actually, because if we defeat them, they get removed. Nope, I'm going to cyber attack this one because I don't have any action plan on how to get rid of that one yet. So we're going to cyber attack the one in the Middle East. Let's see. We're going to perform one attack using WM3. If we were at war, I'm sorry, if we declare a war, we would roll. Okay, so just forgive me here. I'm trying to find the right documentation. I would honestly buy this game a second time if the designer of this would give me a tabletop simulator with all the assets so I could show you all the documentation. Because there's being able to open one of these up and do a keyword search is so beautiful. Much better than having a physical copy in front of me. Okay, so I want to make sure I do this right because I haven't done this much. So it's asking me if I'm a victim. No. Is this a joint attack? No. Are we attacking a missile track? No. We're attacking a rogue state. We're limited to one of these attacks per activation. So what we do is we take... They're telling us we have to come over here and grab this marker, and we put it like right here, or maybe up here, to show that I used my rogue attack for that section. And that's fine. No worries there. Okay, yeah, so we're doing a cyber attack against a rogue state. It says choose your target, roll a d10, and modify the DRMs. Then roll again for a response to the attack. Right, there's a lot of tables here, but I gotta jump to the bottom. So, yeah, we can do our roll first. Four is not bad. Lower is always better. And of course I lost my spot. Alright, here's the DRMs. Plus or minus to match the difference if Russia or China has greater capability than us. So as you know, we just went ahead of them. So we are at, so it's a -1. So that becomes a 3. -1 if the attack is against a rogue state, so that becomes a 2. And -1 if it's a joint ally, or a -2 if the ally is Israel. So none of those. So that 4 becomes a 2. So now let me go to the table. Against a rogue state, a 2 or less major success cripples command, control, communications, and infrastructure. Decrease the rogue state by 1 level. If at war, immediately subtract 2 from their strength. And then also a -2 to the reaction roll. So this was awesome. So decreasing this by 1 level destroys it. So we took a rogue state out of the game. And I can look that up. Maybe it turns into a terror group. The rogue state gets reduced down to a terror group. I'll have to check that in a second. Then we'll do another roll. A 3 is excellent, so we get a -2 to that, so it becomes a 1. No reaction. It was a flawless covert operation that leaves no fingerprints. Alright, so I'm going to pause real quick. I'm going to look in the governing manual to see if reducing a rogue state from a 1 turns into a terror group or if it's really truly destroyed. Okay, so it told me that it could turn into a level 4 terror group or something else. And it said to turn to page 24 of the turn sequence flip book. Okay. So if there's a rogue state 4, the game ends. For each rogue state 2 or 3, decrease the stability, replace it with a 1. So here, like, you roll a die based on stability. If you reduce it by 1 level, or a level 4 terror group if it was a level 1 rogue state. This one also becomes a level 4 terror group. So I don't know why it's telling me to come here. They all just become level 4 terror groups. For each rogue state 1. Yeah, so we'll turn it into a level 4 terror group. Which, I don't know what to do because the max number is already here. I have to pause again. Okay, I got it figured out. the the rogue state for sure gets reduced to a level 4 terror group. Now, we had a situation here where this was a level 1, and we had to. That's right, because we did we had the major crisis, right? The reason I'm going back to that is because we may have handled it wrong. So what the rule says, let me just explain it, how I understand the rule. Anytime you're at your max terror groups and you need to add one, you add it to the highest level group, not the lowest. So this it looked like this. And they asked us to add a level 2 terror group. So we can't add any here. So it's saying to take the highest group and add 2 to that. So I think what ends up happening then is this becomes a 4. And 4s are nasty. If these exist, I'm sorry, these can turn into rogue states. So we destroyed a rogue state, which then causes a level 4 to be created. Or it goes down to level 4. But this is the part that gets weird. Am I adding a 4 to the existing? And I think the answer is yes. So then what you do is you take your highest one. Am I adding 4? Like, that's the part that confuses me. I mean, where does the math come in? Am I just increasing it by 1 level? Because, like, if this is the situation and I'm adding a level 2, does just one of these just become a 3? Or do I really add 2 levels to this? That's the part that's nebulous to me. Okay, so I do think the rule is clear. It's just buried in here. It says if you must place a terror group counter when you're already at the max, an already existing highest value terror group is promoted instead to the next level. It does not tell me I have to add or do any mathematics. If it's a level 4, it goes to a rogue state. So we had a situation here where a level 2 is supposed to be added, so this becomes a 3. Right? And then now a rogue state got, and I'm sorry if I'm saying rogue state, I meant to say terror group. So we have a level 3 that's supposed to go out there, but a rogue state just got destroyed and it's going to become a level 4. Well, since we're at our max number, this 3 now becomes a 4. Like that. So I think that's the situation we're supposed to be at right now, with us defeating that rogue state. I think that's the right way to handle that. It took me a little bit of mental gymnastics, but I do believe I have that understood. So, yes, we need to target these terror groups and get them raided or whatever before they become a rogue state. Agree wholeheartedly there. Okay, so that was our two military actions. I would say both of them were very, very successful. Obviously, this one is guaranteed, but I am very happy with both of those. So now we can go ahead and do that. And this one I'm sort of waiting. He can do one of these or one of those. Let's do the diplomatic actions. So we're going to do Kim Richards. And having these bonus actions is fantastic. So, crisis relief. So we can reduce regional crisis. The Middle East was a place that needed our attention, but that cork already popped. Africa is near a major crisis, so that's a good one. Africa. We can improve alignment in a region. Do a regional alignment check. If we pass, we get a pro-US counter. Um, we get to subtract the rating of our Secretary of State, and it's +1 for every influence from Russia or China. We can try to remove influence counters, but they need a lot of alignment. We have to be aligned at 7 or 8. We can make a trade agreement, which I know is a good thing. Decrease tensions. Do a summit with China or Russia, which also is good. I'm not sure I want to do sanctions. We could de-escalate a conflict, which is, that's manipulating this over here. Try to like move these back to peace instead of being down here near war. Or we can broker or offer peace, which we're not doing. I'm making an executive decision on that. So I think I want to do crisis relief, because these major crises are horrible. So let's do that first. A 1 to an 8 is all it takes, so that was an easy drop. And then for the next one, I would like to try a trade agreement, because our relationship with Congress is really good right now. So I'm going to choose a region. I have to make a regional alignment check. So I'm going to choose like the Eurozone. We're at 6 with them. We are at 6 with Asia Pacific. We're going to do Asia Pacific. So I'm at 6. Let's do a check. Perfect. So we pass the test. So then we take trade agreement pending and put it on that region. So then step 2, I can spend action points to get a -1 DRM on this, but we do a relations with Congress check. And if that passes, we flip the trade agreement pending to a pass. And that check is a 50%. So remember, I can always just spend 1 AP to roll again. So I'm not going to spend my 2 APs just to get a -1. And my Secretary of State doesn't modify this, so let's go for it. That is a pass. So then we flip it over and we got ourselves a trade agreement with Asia and Pacific. So that's excellent. And I believe that was our two actions. Alright, next we're going to try to do domestic. We can try to encourage bipartisanship in Congress. I need a 2 or less to make that happen. We can try to discredit a congressional opponent. Choose an opponent, roll a d6. A 1 or 2 succeeds. 4 or 5 is dirty tricks. We get -1 if our public approval is 60% or greater. We don't. We can spend an AP to get a -1. We get to subtract the diplomatic rating of our chief of staff or vice president. If our legislative rating is... Oh, they get a +1 if it's a 2 or a 3, which both of those are. And +1 if relations with Congress is less than 4, which it's not. This might be a good time to try to do that. But we do need to... We can also do fundraising and support, which improves this. We can try to stimulate the economy. There's a lot of good domestic actions, actually. But I think we want to address the domestic crisis. So I have to make a cabinet effectiveness check, which is only a 4. I do get to add... We don't have domestic crisis as one of our... We don't have public approval. We do get to reduce it by our rating. And this is a 0. See that number right there? So there's no modification there. So I get a -1 to my roll. I don't get to do anything else. Ooh, this is going to be... I got to do it though. Look, we're at a 2. So I get a -1 to my roll, and it is a D10. So we're going up against the cabinet effectiveness, which is a 4. And by the way, that says +2 presidential APs. So I believe... Yeah, I'll have to check later. Alright, so this needs to be a 4 or lower. And actually, it needed to be a 5 or lower because I had a -1. But we rolled a 2. We're doing fantastic with the rolls so far. So this gets reduced by 1, which is very, very important. So we pass. Decrease domestic track by 1. Oh, and +1 public approval. That's even better. Okay, so that was one action. The other one, we can improve our relations with Congress. Or we can try to remove an opponent. I don't know which one's better. If we actually somehow got a 1 trying to improve our relations with Congress, we get to add a friend. So rather than eliminating opponents, we can add friends and just outnumber our opponents, I guess. And then this one gives the bonus of an improvement to your relationship track. Whereas the other one could result in a scandal. And the relationship could actually backfire. So a 4, 5, or 6 on a d6 roll. Alright, so let me think about this. We don't have public approval. We can spend an AP to get a -1. So therefore, guaranteed we're not going to get a 6. We get a -1 for our chief of staff. So therefore, we're guaranteed not to get a 5 or a 6. So that means that a 4 would cause us to lose 1 relations with Congress. That's like a 1 in 6 chance. But they add a +1 because their rating is 2 or 3. So That puts us back into if we roll a 5 or a 6, bad things happen to us.
Well, okay, I played this game with my
Okay,
girlfriend,
so if I go to the improved relations with Congress side,
and then I've been playing it since Tuesday, like nonstop.
I can spend an AP for a -1, and I get a +1 because my relationship is on 5.
I heal him.
So it's a straight up roll, and I need to get a 1, 2, or 3
I do not have
helps
family.
me. A 4 and 5 is nothing, and a 6 is a massive backfire. Ooh,
I have family
such a
members that
risky
will just
roll.
like go like through people and rush the backline.
I could try to stimulate the economy, or I could try to do a presidential action,
See, now you can use it. See?
which would.
Yeah. Ah.
So, like, one of the things I could have done was improve cabinet effectiveness to help me with that last action. I think I know what I want to do with my presidential action, so I'm gonna come back to this. Um, the domestic is important. It's just that I'm trying to like improve my odds as much as possible. This improve relations with Congress thing,
I refuse to jump over spikes.
it does not rely on my effectiveness of the cabinet at all. The stimulate economy, let me go back to that one. I would just make an economy
See, it
check.
doesn't work.
I can spend AP points to make it really succeed,
This is not fair.
and I don't have improve economy on here.
Let's not die. Oh,
It
actually,
would be nice to get rid of these, or
okay,
you know what? We only live once, right?
okay.
All right, so we're gonna come here. It's a D6. A 1 is magical. A 2 or 3 is very good. A 4 or 5 is no change, and a 6 is disastrous. I can spend an AP to get a -1, and that counteracts the +1 that I'm going to get because this is at 5. So I have to spend an AP just to deal with it. Let's go. So we got a 4, which is nothing. So nothing happened. He's done.
Beautiful.
All right. I need to check the scenario book real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, it wasn't the scenario book. It was this. We started with 15, but our cabinet effectiveness gave us +2. So we actually have 2 more APs. So this would put us at 19, and then 20 right now.
Those guys are easy.
So I have the VP. We get to do one action, and I can do a diplomatic one or a domestic one. I'm thinking I want to do because like with diplomatic, I can get another trade agreement going. I think those are really nice to do while we have good relationship with Congress. So I'm gonna try to do that. We're gonna try to get another one going, and another place where I have really good regional alignment is here. We're at 6. There's good regional alignment with Eastern Europe as well. But let's try to get a trade with the Eurozone. And so, first thing we do is we have to pass that. So it is a check against 6.
Perfect.
Oh, we rolled a 10. So I could have spent 2 AP, but instead I'm going to spend 1 AP just to do a reroll. There we go. So we got our 2. Trade agreement pending. Next, we're going to then do a check against Congress, which is the 50% check. But we get a -1 if I'm willing to spend an AP. Um, I'm not. I'm gonna reserve the right to reroll. So this would cause me. Yes, so I'll spend 1 to reroll. I'm actually gonna spend 1 more because I want to get a -1. We got it. All right. I did spend a lot of AVs to pull that off. I get it, but I got 4 bonus ones. I guess I'm in my head. I felt like I could spend them. So, last but not least, we have the president, and I'm actually going to do the choose an ally that's not very close to make them very close. So if I look at my allies here, I have Saudi Arabia. I got very close all across the board here. We also have, oh, they should be here. Which ones do we have? We have Saudi Arabia and India. Those are the 2. So I'm going to do Saudi Arabia first. So I need a 6 or less. Oh, now we got to see if there's any modifiers. Oh, I would have spent the AP. I'm sorry. Yeah. I passed as long as I would have spent that AP. And yes, that was a decision that needed to be made before I rolled. I got too quick to the trigger here, but this is very important. And you guys know this from my last playthrough. This gives me extra actions. So when these guys take turns, I get bonus actions from them. And a lot of times I use it just to remove tension, but removing tension is really good because then it means they're going to help me in other ways. So I'm a big fan of having very close relationships with as many allies as I can get. So I used my presidential action to do that, and that's done. I think we're good. The trade agreement, by the way, was I'm trying to do it right. I'm listening to my Irish friends. I went to Ireland first. Um, okay, so I think we're done with all of our actions. And then next up is going to be the activation phase. And then, of course, this is no longer an issue because we could use it again here, potentially. And yeah, there you go. We made it through US Special Activations a little quicker than before. Thanks for watching. As always, stay awesome.